All right, guys. This is actually take three of this tour, but we'll see how it goes. This is the front door that leads into my house into the library area here. This library is currently going through some changes. My wife and I, there's a giant rug that's right here that's been on the floors, but we lifted up the rug yesterday and cleaned all the floors, and we're moving my desk from downstairs up into here so that my wife can tutor in here more. And not do it so much in our dining room table. But here's some of the bookshelves here. I'm kind of weird and kind of a nerd about this stuff. So this is all fiction, primarily fiction with a little bit of nonfiction in there. That's all nonfiction. This is all over here is horror related, and then this is like reference and miscellaneous stuff, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But first bookshelf. Up here, this is my favorite story series that I read. It's called The Dresden Files, and this is the first book called Stormfront. It's written by Jim Butcher, and he is a fantastic author. This series is basically about a wizard that lives in Chicago and how he solves mysteries and murders and crimes that involve witchcraft and demonic possessions and things of that nature. It's a really good story, really good series. There's a ton of books in it. Goes pretty far. Down here, for those of you who've read Ender's Game with me, this is the Ender series going on. Some other good books. Down here, these aren't in alphabetical order like everything else is up there, but these are all like older classic volumes. Huckleberry Finn, Edgar Allan Poe, which I absolutely love him. These were all given to me by my father-in-law, which was super awesome. This is probably the best young adult novel I've read in a long time. It's called Scream All Night by Derek Millman. It's a fantastic book about a boy who grew up in a movie studio family, or a movie studio in a castle, and he's coming home to it to help save the studio. It's beautiful reading. Really good story. Some other books. Bam. Up there at the top, some pictures. My wife and I, our engagement photos. Her family when they got married. Her mom and dad when they got married. It's a painting by my son. Over here we have my daughter, us in Nantucket. And then there's my son. So that's Eli. And that's Reagan when they were babies. This bookshelf is really interesting because my wife, her grandfather built this bookshelf. And what's really cool about it is in the drawers here, there's a secret compartment on this side. I guess it's not so secret that I've shown you, but books continue. Down there at the bottom, there's some classic Britannica series that is full of like classic stories. My favorite one down there is honestly Robin Hood. I love it. Let's see, up here, that is the Scott Pilgrim series. Scott Pilgrim is awesome if you guys have never checked out, have never looked into him. It's by Brian Lee O'Malley, sorry. And it's a beautiful comic series / manga, except for it goes from left to right, unlike most mangas. Great story, great artwork. It's fantastic. Here over here at the top is a painting my daughter did, and that's my family from years ago, and then of course my mom and dad, and that's me circa around 2002, and my brother and our family. Here's some great nonfiction autobiographies, biographies, things of that nature. I don't know if y'all are wrestling fans, but Mick Foley, Mankind. This is his book that he wrote, his very first one, called Have a Nice Day. It is by far a fascinating autobiography. Was not huge into wrestling, still not really huge into wrestling, but loved that book so much. He is a great writer, wickedly intelligent man. Manning's, Archie Manning, Peyton Manning, that's a great biography on them. It's a semi-autobiography, so kind of by them. Let's see. Got the dusting spray right there because I've been cleaning up around here. Let's see. The Book of Awesome, that's pretty sweet. It's got a bunch of awesome things. Let's see. The Bhagavad Gita. That's a great one. Love and Respect. A wonderful book for you and your future partner. And some other good references down there. I'll go over here. Again, moving my desk up in here. That'll be nice. Here's the Sherlock Holmes collection. Love Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes. It's fantastic. I'll talk to y'all about that book in 1 minute. These right here, these are books that I've had signed, books that I'm in, things of that nature. Book that I'm in, book that I'm in, book that I'm in. Signed by the authors. This is the Hard Case Crime books I got. Love those. They're mystery books. They're very fantastic. These are all plays that I've been in, which is really cool. Down here are reference guides. Like right here we have the AP Style Guide, the style book. It is the most important book I had while I was in the military as a writer there. It taught me a lot about how things are supposed to be worded for newspapers, journalism, things of that nature. Great reference guide. And these are young kids' books right there. One of the books I pulled aside from that was actually this one over here. It's called Paperbacks from Hell. It's by Grady Hendrix. It is a beautiful reference guide on old 80s horror books, which I absolutely love. And the artwork of the covers, because the artwork back then is much different than things are now. A lot of the artwork back then was all paintings, and it is fantastic. And some of these are like really creepy and weird. And let's see if there's one that'll pop up that's probably, in my opinion, the most freakiest of all. Let me see. Well, maybe I already passed it. Not sure. Ah, there it is. Spawn by Sean Hudson. Sorry. It's a baby keeping a man in a jar. I don't know how it gets any more creepier than that, man. But Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is also a fiction writer. And these are some of his other books. My Best Friend's Exorcism, which was a great title. Great horror book about friendship. Amazing cover. And then We Sold Our Souls. It's a rock and roll horror book that he wrote. And it's absolutely fantastic. Up here I got Stephen King. Decent fan of Stephen King. I feel like he's either a great author or he's either hit or miss. Either his books are really good or they're not so good. Two different variations of the Bachman books, which are books that he wrote under a different name. This one has a story in it that this one does not have, that Stephen King will not allow to be published anymore, which is kind of freaky. Here's my favorite Stephen King work. It is called Blockade Billy. It's a baseball book, but it's a great story. It's very short, but it's got a wonderful twist ending. These are my, bookmarks. You gotta always have bookmarks around when you read a lot. So all this here is like horror books, okay? And Joe Hill, he is Stephen King's son, and he follows in the footsteps of his dad pretty well. This guy, he's an independent author. His name's Cameron Robeek. He also does the paintings of the covers for his books, so he's a great artist as well. Kill River was a great book. But this one right here is called Disco Death Trap. If you love slasher movies and stuff, this is a slasher novel, and it is absolutely fantastic. It takes place on New Year's Eve of 1979 to New Year's Day of 1980. And they're stuck in a roller rink. It's fantastic. These are all mostly 80s horror novels. Christopher Moore, he's a comedy horror writer. Dirty Job is a great book that he's written. There's some more Cameron Robeeks that I need to get to. Let's see. So y'all might recognize Nothing But the Truth there. Got a ton of copies of that. Let's see, over here, the Dan Wells I Am Not a Serial Killer series is beautiful, nicely written. He does a great job. Dan Wells also writes the Partial series, which is really good, young adult book. John dies at the end. wonderfully weird novel. You should really look into that if you're into like weird stuff, just really, really weird. I have a love for old teenager horror novels. So Christopher Pike was my favorite author of them. And so I've got a ton of Christopher Pike novels. And yes, I've read the vast majority of these right here. My favorite Christopher Pike horror novel, Whisper of Death. Freaky book, even for teenagers. Really, really crazy weird. Let's see. This is a great one. Dathan Auerbach, Pen Pal. Started off as a online book that he was writing, turned into a podcast, and then this is the printed version of it all. This is a scary book. It is really, really crazy. It's about this kid who has a class project where they put pictures on balloons and they send them up into the sky, and they hope to get pen pals that way. Wherever the balloons pop and the pictures land with the addresses and stuff to mail stuff back. And the kid that his picture gets picked up by someone really creepy and starts a terrifying story, and they become pen pals. Dad jokes. Love dad jokes. Dead Leaves, that's a autumn collection. Whoop, books fell. That's an autumn collection. This is one that my kids got me recently. How to Tell If Your Cat's Plotting to Kill You. It's funny. Over here is video game books and some comics. Let's see. So this is Zelda. Dude, Scary Stories Treasury. That is fantastic. Classics, Frankenstein and Dracula. This is just like the Christopher Pike books. Up here, down here is R.L. Stine, and he was popular for Fear Street and also for the Goosebumps books. But I never really got into Goosebumps. Instead, the Fear Street stuff was awesome in my opinion. I really, really enjoyed that when I was a kid. And so I got a bunch of those as well. And yes, I've read the vast majority of these too. And then down there, some more kids books. Something Upstairs by Avi. That's a fun book as well. All right. Well, this is my library. I hope to see yours or your book collections. Please post and share them. I'm turning the camera around so I don't know how good I look here. I can't see it. But please post your books, your collections. Tell me what you're reading and let me know how things are going for you. I'm really excited to hear from you guys. Again, I know I said it yesterday. I miss y'all like crazy. I really do. I miss the conversations we had. I miss teaching you guys live and not on a computer. I hope you guys are doing well. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you to help you out. Check the Google Classroom if you need to contact me. And my email's on there. Send me a message to Google Classroom. Miss you guys. Love you bunches. Have a great day.